Why do some movies get later release dates than others? What is up, everybody? RandomRandomMan here, and it is Valentine's Day weekend. Yes, happy Valentine's Day, which was technically yesterday, but however, I did see a movie that was related towards that day, and instead of seeing that one movie that came out this weekend about, BDSM, why do I even try? I decided to see this one movie that I don't think many people have heard of, and it is called Love, Rosie, which stars Lily Collins and Sam Claflin, and is directed by Christian Ditter. Now, the plot, which is based off of the novel Where Rainbows End and is written by Cecilia Ahern, follows Rosie and Alex, played by Lily Collins and Sam Claflin respectively, who have been best friends since the age of 5, so they could not possibly be right for each other. Or could they? That is, until life, love, and making the right decisions gets the better of both of them and makes them their own worst enemies in terms of friendship. Like I said before, I don't think too many people in the US have even heard of this film, as it was originally released in its native UK and it hasn't gotten much exposure in terms of advertisements and other things towards people in America such as myself. On the other hand, however, I was actually really excited to see this movie since last year when it originally came out in October in the UK, but I had to wait a little while longer to see it here in America. Luckily, it did come out in select theaters as of last week, and it was released on video on demand, so I was able to see it personally comfortably at home during this Valentine's Day weekend. So, why was I excited to see this movie? Well, for one thing, I like the two leads, and the concept of a love story of sorts that is forbidden yet not forbidden looked pretty interesting for a small film of this magnitude. But did this all pay off 4 months of waiting? Personally, let's run down the whole thing. I really like Lily Collins, not just for the fact that she is a breathtakingly gorgeous woman, but she also is a good actress in some movies that she is in. My favorite film of hers is Stuck in Love from a few years back, and what a coincidence that her two best films are named with the word love in the title. I just think that she was just marvelous in this movie as the title character Rosie. Her charisma that she brings on screen is not only delightful to see, but it's just plain adorable in how she is trying to get with this one guy or some other things that are happening in her life for unexpected reasons or just for the fact that life happens. But I do think that this character is very likable, and she does get the most exposure between her and Claflin's character Alex, so I think that she is the real standout of this film. Similarly to Collins, I do enjoy Sam Claflin as an actor. I really dug him as Finnick in The Hunger Games Catching Fire and The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. If briefly, and his turn here as Alex is also pretty outstanding. I do think he's the weaker of the two leads compared to Collins, but it's just for the fact that he has less screen time than the title character, which does not make him an entirely bad performance at all. I do think that he is also very funny, which I forgot to mention with Collins, but he also brings a male lead type of character in a very big standpoint here. I get he's very popular in the UK, and I think he is spilling over to American audiences very slowly once again with The Hunger Games and now this film, even though it is from the native UK, but I do think that he is magnificent as ever in this movie. The rest of the cast here are also pretty outstanding too. To me, they're relatively unknown actors since I am not from the UK and I have never seen them in a movie before. But the other standouts of this film do include Tamsin Edgerton, Suki Waterhouse, and Christian Cook. And for the screen time that they are given in comparison with the two leads, they also do pretty good jobs in my eyes. But the real standouts here once again are the two leads, Lily Collins and Sam Claflin, and the impeccable chemistry that they have on screen with their individual performances are just one huge reason why this movie is worth watching. Now, this movie is based off of a book once again, and I haven't actually read the original book that this movie is based off of, but from what I hear, the original book is actually told entirely with text messages, and this is actually a big part of the movie's plot itself, as I do think it's relatively simple, nothing too original, as it is another love story of sorts that is designed to be a chick flick, if you will, but I do say that it does twist it just enough to make it more interesting, even if it is a little bland when you do read between the lines. But when the comedy does come into play here, this is actually a really funny movie. Now, some problems I do have with British films are that, not that they aren't entertaining, but sometimes I can't understand the slang that they use, and it's just the fact that I'm a stupid American. What do you know? But the stuff that I did understand actually did make me laugh out loud because, oh, it's just British charm. But it's just also very exquisite what locations are also used here with the comedy, set design, and whatever this movie also implements. One problem I did have with this movie, however, is the pacing. Not that it's poorly evened out as the movie runs along. In fact, it runs at a pretty brisk and pretty fitting 1 hour and 40 minutes. But I will say this movie has a tendency to jump in between time frames pretty fast in these characters' lives, as, count them, this movie takes place over the course of 12 years. Yes, that is a very long time for these characters to go through a lot in over the course of a dozen years, starting when they're just 18 up until they're naturally 30 years old. And it does seem a little bit odd for the movie to jump like this, especially since it's rushing through a bunch of moments in these characters' lives, and since this is a romance that is forbidden yet not forbidden, as they couldn't possibly be right for each other. Not. But this movie does seem a little too fast in retrospect, but it didn't bother me enough to go, ooh, this movie is just utterly ruined. But there's also one other problem in that some moments do seem a little too contrived in that it's trying to set up a moment of heartwarmingness or in any other shape of emotion. But this movie is designed to be like that, so it didn't bother me too much, as this movie is overall very sweet, very heartwarming, and very joyous in its execution. I just think that this is a very enjoyable movie that if you want to watch with your loved one or even alone, you'll get a real kick out of this. My final thoughts on this movie are that Lily Collins and Sam Claflin are just exceptional together on screen. The writing is very nice, especially considering that it's adapted from a book that's essentially written with just text messages in mind, but does play a pretty integral part of the story. The movie actually looks really great and makes great use of how nice the UK looks, and even some moments in America do pop up here. And overall, it's just funny, very delightfully amusing, and it's actually pretty touching once it gets to the end of the film, as it does regard relationships and how people love each other in a very good light, and how friendships actually do work out in the end, whether they are mutually for just having fun or in how love and romance does play out. I think that if 50 Shades of Grey is not an option for you to see this Valentine's Day weekend or any time at all, then this is a perfect substitute for a movie that does not look good in general. So I will say that for about $7 to rent this movie on iTunes, Vudu, whatever, in any way you can get this movie, it is totally worth it. I do think that this is a movie worth watching in its romantic drama genre, or should I say romantic dramedy, as it is funny, and I definitely recommend it. My final verdict for Love, Rosie is 4 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of Love, Rosie, subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.